Welcome to Traveler's Tales. I am your host, Greg Alonzo. Today I will be your guide through history as we take a look at your questions and comments in part 2 of The Fun Gods of Greek Mythology. Before we begin, just a quick reminder that we post new videos every Tuesday and Friday. Don't forget to hit the little bell icon to be notified each time we post new videos. For your convenience, we have also posted our email address and Instagram information. Moving right along, mythology tells us one thing, while archaeology tells us another. Our first question today is from Robbie. She wants to know just how religiously did the Greeks follow Dionysus, or was it just an excuse to imbibe in a lot of wine? Robbie, good question. In my opinion, those who followed the cult of Dionysus avidly did so. I definitely don't think that it was just an excuse to drink and party. Do keep in mind that Dionysus was a very influential nature god, and the people learned an exceptional amount from this god. Next, we have a question from Horatio. He asks, how is it that we have come to so incorrectly understand Dionysus and see him as a frat boy who loves to only party? Horatio, you in part have answered your own question. It is we who have misunderstood Dionysus. To the Greeks, he was not only a presence, he was a god who taught the Greeks about agriculture and the seasons. With regard to drink, Dionysus taught the Greeks to adhere to moderation with this wonderful gift from the god. Let's see here. Next we have a question from Alexa. She goes on to say that Dionysus was perhaps one of the most influential of all the Greek gods. He taught them how to survive. He taught them to appreciate the gift of wine and not to abuse what the gods had so freely given. About theater, he taught the Greeks to express themselves and not fear looking deeply into their souls. Dionysus also taught the Greeks to both enjoy and appreciate theater. Alexa, well said. You will hear no argument from me as I am in total agreement with you. Let's press on. Our next question is from Jacob. He wants to know if it is true that the Greeks mixed their wine with water. Yes, Jacob, they did. Seawater gives the wine a curious salinity, which mixes with the sweetness of the grape that produces a delicate taste. Seawater also preserves the wine much longer. I guess I could say that a pinch of salt enhances the taste of food. It also does the same for a glass of wine. One thing to keep in mind, the wines of antiquity were much sweeter and quite a bit stronger. Our next question is from Lana. She wants to know if the ancient Greeks preferred white or red wines. Well, Lana, the ancient Greek writers referred to wine as white or black, which were the equivalent of today's red wines. With regard to preference, it was simply a matter of one's palate. Next, we have a question from Reuben. He asks, which Greek islands produced the best wines? Reuben, excellent question. The wines most often cited as being far superior in quality were those from these islands: Chalkidiki, Ismaros, Chios, Kos, Lesbos, Mendes, Naxos, and Peparethos, which is today's Skopelos and Thasos. Obviously, the Greeks of antiquity had an abundance of wine sources. Moving right along, our next comment is from Samantha. She goes on to say that she was quite surprised to learn of Aphrodite's backstory. Samantha, most people only know Aphrodite's connection to the Roman goddess Venus. In part, this is due to the famous sculpture of Venus de Milo by Alexandros of Antioch. Originally, the work was attributed to the sculptor Praxiteles. However, it is now widely agreed that the creation is the work of Alexandros of Antioch. We still have time for a couple more questions. Let's see. This one is from Stella. She asks, wasn't Aphrodite married to Hephaestus? Yes, Stella, you are correct. Hephaestus was the smith and craftsman of the gods. Though he was married to Aphrodite, it was not a happy marriage. This was primarily because they had no children. Aphrodite was an unfaithful wife and had affairs with other gods as well as with mortals. Another reason why Aphrodite was constantly unfaithful to Hephaestus was because Zeus forced the marriage upon her. Hephaestus was also a deformed cripple and very unattractive. Letitia has an interesting question. She wants to know who was the true love of Aphrodite. Well, Letitia, though Aphrodite had many lovers, both mortals and gods, she had her longest relationship with the war god Ares. In fact, she bore him 4 divine sons. They were named Eros, Anteros, Deimos, Phobos, and a daughter named Harmonia. This relationship persisted throughout her marriage with Hephaestus until he finally divorced Aphrodite. Our last question for today is from Geraldo. He asked, was Aphrodite truly the most beautiful of all the goddesses? Yes, Geraldo, you are correct. Aphrodite was indeed the most beautiful of all the goddesses. She was also a member of the original 12 Olympian gods who lived on Mount Olympus. This brings us to the end of The Fun Gods of Greek Mythology, Part 2. Thank you for once again joining us for this edition of Traveler's Tales. Just as a reminder, we post new videos every Tuesday and Friday. For your convenience, we have also posted our email address and Instagram information. We love hearing from our subscribers, so don't hesitate to contact us with your questions or comments. If you haven't already done so, please don't forget to like and subscribe to Traveler's Tales. This really is the best way to help our channel grow. Traveler's Tales will return with the pleasure ladies of ancient Greece. Until we meet again at the crossroads of folklore and history, Kartistos.